Hi BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I'm filming my favorites of 2022. And you know what? This is my third time filming this, so I'm not going to even do this in any order. I'm just going to talk about the book, the last book I was talking about when I just filmed this. Sorry, I'm just really annoyed by all the interruptions, and I know it's partly my own fault because I could have told people, but I mean, now with my grandma, I'm not going to bother explaining because she won't understand, but I could explain it to my dad. But you know what? I'm not going to explain. Sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and start. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about these in any order. I'm just going to... Okay, so this one I read at the end of the summer. And that is one of the nonfiction books that I read. And I think I was doing really well with nonfiction. I was very excited by how nonfiction went this past year. That is Everybody Was So Young by Amanda Valine. And this is about these set in the 1920s, and about this couple that I don't know a lot about. This is my first time hearing about them. They were part of that group of Hemingway and Fitzgerald and Picasso and all those famous artists. And that's Sarah and Gerald Murphy. And they were also artists themselves. They were the mom and pop of the group. But they also have very complicated relationships with them, and it was just really intriguing and engaging to read about these people that I didn't know a lot about. And it is a long book, but I really enjoyed all the details of getting to know them and spending time with them. I wanted to be part of their circle of friends. Even though, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with Fitzgerald or Hemingway, but it was just really great and engaging to be in and read about these people. So that was that. And then for Jane, I finally participated in Jane Austen July this year. And these are two of the books I read for Jane Austen July. And that was the other Bennet sister and Jane Austen, Her Life and Letters, A Family Record. With this one, I just got so emotional. We got her, and this one felt more personal because we got her letters. Like, we were just told the facts. We actually heard her voice through reading these letters. I think, which really makes it all worth it to read, and really, it got me really emotional. I don't cry in books, but this one made me cry. And we also got what was going on during each book when each book was being published, which I really enjoyed that, and her struggles as a woman to get her name out there and publish her books. But yeah, this was a really great nonfiction book about her, about Jane Austen. Okay, and the other one was The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. I just love this book. It's one of my favorite historical fictions of the year. And it's about Mary Bennet, who was the character kind of in the background, in the shadows. But occasionally she spoke up. But we really get to know her a lot more. And she gets to shine in this book. She gets her own romance. She finds herself in her own love triangle. And this book also allows us to get to know some of the secondary characters in the original Pride and Prejudice, like the Garners. And I also love how I just felt so connected to Mary Bennet. I think I even connected her more to Elizabeth than I did Elizabeth. She's shy and awkward and just loves reading. I mean, Lizzie loved reading too, and she seeks the approval of her father. Had to deal with her mother's criticism all the time. Now, that part I didn't necessarily relate to, but thankfully. But, it's just so good. And the romance was so delectable and just beautiful. And I will definitely reread this book soon. So then we have The Dragon Republic, another trilogy I read this year. There's only one trilogy that I actually finished. This is the trilogy I have not finished yet, but I read this book this summer. And this is the second book in the series, and the war gets a lot bigger and beyond the school. I mean, it went beyond the school in the first book, But we really, like, Rin is on her own as far as leadership goes, and she's really struggling. She's addicted to the Phoenix powers, and these people don't really trust her because they feel like she's unstable. And, as a leader, and she is, and we really see how everyone has a different perspective on this war and how it influences how you feel about it and what your opinion on whose side you're on. And we also explore the idea of how Rin thinks this godlike power is worth it. They can use it to save everybody, and it makes them so powerful. It gives, and she's someone who didn't really have an identity back before, and she now finds she has peace and feels like this is who she's meant to be. And while you have another character who also has godlike powers, who is not so sure about it and doesn't trust the magic and thinks it's dangerous and refuses to use it and thinks that the power can consume you and control you and it's dangerous. So we have that as well, that kind of conflict of interest. And then we also have like her complicated relationships with these two guys in the story. Some people think there's a bit of a romance in the story. Romance between her and one of these guys, and just how she's struggling with, it's just so good. It was such a great second book. And then we have, I don't have a lot to say about this one, but I really enjoyed it. And that was the Stardust Thief, the first book in the Sandsea trilogy. I really loved it because, it explores a type of fantasy that I don't explore a lot. I don't get to read a lot. Like, I did not grow up reading the 1001 Arabian Nights. The closest I came to that was Aladdin. I really like how we get the djinn in this one. I think that's such a fascinating magical creature. And did inspire me to listen to City of Brass. And if City of Copper comes to, available for me on Libby, then I'll get it. But, I liked all the characters. It was an epic, quest story where it explores the idea of telling stories and how important your stories shape who you are. And I was a little disappointed by the antagonist, but I'm hoping that the antagonist will play a bigger role in book 2. And I really like the two female characters. They were all badass but not annoying. And I had to say, it was really great. I had fun with this. And then we have First Law Trilogy. I read this in, I'm trying to think of, probably in the spring, or started to. Well, I read this all throughout the year. Like, this was such a fun trilogy. I don't read, this is my first time reading Grimdark. I like how it wasn't, the characters, none of the characters were heroes. They all were flawed and dysfunctional and messed up. The only character that at first I didn't like until the second book was Giselle, who was very arrogant and annoying, but he grows in the second book. I like how it's a story where you don't, you think you know who the antagonists are, and then you realize that there's a puppet master who's controlling everything by the third book. And and one of the things I love about the second book is how you think things are going to happen, but then it kind of turns out to not go in the direction you expect. And for the characters, it's a letdown, but for me, it was kind of intriguing. I was kind of surprised in a good way. But yeah, it was a fun trilogy. It's the only trilogy I completed this year. There were a lot that I actually started but didn't finish. Okay. Then we have Dune by Frank Herbert, and I did read Dune Messiah also this year. Dune I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but over time I've come to realize it's a favorite. But because I thought a lot about it, and I like how it feels like a fantasy, even though it has a lot of sci-fi elements, and I would consider it more sci-fi than fantasy. It felt like a fantasy, and this was one of the books that I like how it explored a relationship between a mother and a son. Like, it's the father who's killed off, which usually it's the other way around, and it's the mother that survives, and she and her son go on this journey and end up having to depend on the desert people. And she's kind of caught between the idea of being a loving mother and protecting her son and being a nurturing mother, but then she's part of a religious order who believes Paul is the chosen one and they want to shape him to be the savior. And he realizes she's turned him into a monster, and she realizes too, and it just breaks her heart. So we see that struggle, and I like that. And I didn't care for the romance, but that's not the main point of this. And I also like how it kind of explores the idea of someone being raised to be a chosen one, a savior, and then it turns out maybe that's not just a good idea to put them on that kind of pedestal. And how it might go in the direction of not so great. But this was really good. I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the second one, Dune Messiah. But I like that. This is still my favorite. Okay, and then we have Son of Shadows, which is the sequel to Daughter of the Forest, and it is about Sorka's own daughter. And she has similarities to her mother, but she's also her own person. And her romance, she has a romance with someone that is like, it's still kind of like enemies to lovers in a way, but it's a little different because at least Red in the first book was kind of used to the world that Sorka was part of. He was familiar with it. He himself was like, he just became a king because I think his father died. While the love interest in this book, he's part of a tribe of people that live out in the wild. They're warriors. So he doesn't really understand that world. And when he crosses paths with Sorka, or when Layden, not Sorka, when Layden, his guys ask her to heal one of their own to maybe save him, but she might not be able to. And he does not trust her. He doesn't want her there. He knows that she probably can't save his friend, and he doesn't want her there. But then over time, he starts to kind of trust her and get to know her. And when they're left alone, they fall in love. And I really like that. And once again, we get, in this one, we don't just get relationships between a brother and sister, we get relationship between the two sisters, which I really liked. And Julie Marilier's writing style, I just love her writing. It's just so beautiful and fun. And it's so, like, it immerses you in this world. And another series that I don't have a physical copy of that I read, I didn't read the whole thing, but I read the first 2 books. And that is the Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is kind of the spin-off series to Caraval. And it was just so fun to be back in that world and to get her that writing style of Stephanie Garber's, and we got to know Jax a lot more, which that's what I wanted. I wanted his backstory, and he kind of plays a bigger role in this one, not just the antagonist. He starts out as potentially the antagonist, but I think he's now become more than just the antagonist. And just, I liked Evangeline as a main character, and it was just so much fun, this story in this world, and to be in this world again and explore beyond Caraval. We got to see other kingdoms, and we got to learn more of the backstory of this world. Like I said, we get to know Jax and how he became the Prince of Hearts. And it's just so fun, so delectable. I just love it. Like, Evangeline and Jax's chemistry is off the charts. I am just rooting for them. Okay, and then let me go on to talk about another one that I can't show you, but I did buy the audiobook copy, and I think that the audiobook copy is so much better. And really, or at least it can really help. Because I know a lot of people complain about, criticize reading the physical copy. I really like what this one explores. It explores a lot of interesting themes of how Hollywood can exploit history. Hollywood, when it wants to take history and turn it into a movie, it can change things that you might not like. And to make it more digestible for audiences. And I also, explores going back and forth how the past can influence the present, how history can repeat itself, how certain things can influence people. Like, a group of people. Like in the past line storyline, there's a book that influences these young girls. And some people think that the book has made them do bad things and has caused the death of another girl, of one of their own. And in the present, you have, like I said, Hollywood is exploiting those events when this woman writes a book because she cares about it. She's passionate about these events and wants to tell the story, the actual story, while Hollywood just wants to play with it. And we also get, like, the actresses involved have their social media platforms, and one of them falls in love with the writer, and just how that kind of complicates their relationship because, she's caught between going with what her producers say and trying to stay loyal to this new girl that she's into, and this is her career. And then the other actress, she's trying to get back in the spotlight because she's tired of being under her mom's shadow, who did this whole scary movie franchise. But it's just, it was so engaging, such a good story, so intriguing, and there, there's also queer stories and how the difference between what women that had to deal with, queer people had to deal with back then, and then what they have to deal with now. And how, yes, now it's okay, but there was a time, but they have to deal with other things where everyone's looking at their relationship with a microscope and constantly criticizing their relationship, while in the past, they had to hide their relationship. But it was such a good, it has a lot of stuff going for it. Okay, you know what? I got an idea. I'm going to stop right here for now, do these last group of books in case someone comes home and I have to start filming again. I don't have to start over. And so I'm going to stop here and then do the next set of books in another video on my favorite. So there will be part 2 to this. So I hope you guys love this video because I filmed it 4 times. And I'm not even filming all the books. I'm only filming, I'm going to do a part 2. But anyway, I hope if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you hadn't. Tell me what your favorite books are of this year. And I hope you're looking forward to part 2 of this. All right. Bye.